is the Orange and Blue Report presented by the UVA Health System. We are T-minus 1 day to Game 2 of this 2017 football season. Virginia getting set to take on Indiana. I'm Dave Koehn, voice of the Cavaliers, joined by Director of News Content for VirginiaSports.com, Jeff White. As our scouting report edition of the Orange and Blue Report is upon us. And Jeff, you know, here we go. Virginia and Indiana, these teams have played each other twice in their history. Virginia doesn't see a lot of Big Ten opponents. At least they haven't through the years. This will only be the 5th team that's ever played at Scott Stadium from the Big Ten. But you look at it from Virginia's perspective. A week ago, we saw them get that first win. That was a hurdle that they hadn't been able to clear since 2013. Always good to get into the win column, but the reality is, for Virginia in the here and now, this may be the bigger barometer of where this team is against a pretty darn good Indiana football team. Yeah,
the competition goes up several levels probably on Saturday. This is a much better team than historically it has been, and as anyone who watched Ohio State, Indiana last Thursday night would know, this Hoosiers team has some talent.
Let's take a little bit of a look at how this team has been able to get to where it is and some of the challenges Virginia will be facing come Saturday. It is a Hoosier offense that last week ran 95 plays against Ohio State, and 57 of those came in the first half. By comparison, William & Mary ran 54 plays for the entirety of the game against Virginia. So clearly this is an offense that will come at you fast and furious. As you look at the quarterback, Richard Lego, in his second season at Indiana, he's able to do a lot of different things, but it's all predicated on having some options.
Yeah, the bread and butter of Indiana's offense is a run-pass option where the quarterback lines up in shotgun formation. He takes the shotgun snap. He can go with an inside run to his running back. He can pass to one side to a receiver running a fade route, or he can go to the other side with a receiver running a bubble screen where there's another receiver out there blocking for him. So, you know, that's predicated on what he sees from the defense a lot of times. If they're not 7 guys in the box, the option to run looks better. If he's got one-on-one coverage on one side, the pass can be a good option.
As far as Lego is concerned, too, it bears mentioning he's in his second season in this system. Last year passes for the second most yards of any quarterback in Indiana history in a single season. However, the problem was 17 interceptions to go with 19 touchdowns. They want to see those numbers go down in terms of the interception category. They feel like he's got a better feel in year 2, similar to what Kurt Benkert is saying from Virginia's perspective going into his second year in the system.
Right, and it's worth noting that these are not just average college receivers running these routes, particularly the fade routes. They have big, strong receivers, huge targets.
Well, the first one you got to keep an eye on, Simi Cobbs, #1 last week. Big numbers against Ohio State. Cobbs, 11 catches, 149 yards in that loss to Ohio State. He's back after missing essentially the entirety of last year with an injury. The other guy, though, that you have to watch, Donovan Hale. This is another big receiver at 6 feet 3 inches in height that they can turn to, they can throw to. They're going to test Virginia's defensive backs. You better have some height back there. Fortunately, Virginia does from a matchup perspective. What they don't have is maybe as much experience as they did at least 1 week ago.
Yeah, 1 week ago, Tim Harris was in the starting lineup. He goes down late in the game with a season-ending wrist injury, which means they've had to reshuffle the personnel a little bit in the secondary. We're going to see a lot of Jermaine Crowell, who's a true freshman. There'll be a lot of pressure put on the defense in general and in the secondary in particular Saturday.
Let's talk about the other side of the football now. From Virginia's perspective, offensively, they'll be going against an Indiana defense that came into the season. You talk to the Indiana people, they thought that might be the strength of this team with as many returners back as they have. Well, a lot of different things they're doing, but it all centers around #8, T. Gray Scales. He is a tremendous playmaker. 23.5 tackles for loss in the last year since the beginning of last season. That's the most of anybody in college football. He's someone that Virginia's going to have to pay very close attention to.
Yeah, this is this is a big test for the Virginia offense too. There were a lot of good moments last week against William & Mary. Kurt Benkert did not make the mistakes that have sometimes marred his career here, but they left a lot of points on the table too. He was the first to note that after the game. He had some open receivers that he missed. The line had an up and down game. The running game was not exactly where they would like it to be. So, you know, the margin for error this week on both sides of the ball is going to be a lot thinner. And, you know, if Virginia is going to go to 2-0 for the first time since 2012, is going to need to block better, and it's going to need to take advantage of those opportunities in the passing game.
Yep, and if there are some question marks for this Indiana defense, it starts up front. Their front four, not quite as much experience as the rest of that defense, so perhaps you have an opportunity to take advantage. You got to play with that physicality that I know Coach 2J's been looking for that offensive line. You expect to have Jack English back, hoping to have Jack McDonald back on the offensive line. We'll see how that impacts what Virginia's able to do, trying to get that running game going a little bit more to support the passing game. So those are a couple of the things we'll be watching for as Virginia takes on Indiana tomorrow. That's a 3:30 start time at Scott Stadium. We hope you can be there. It should be a beautiful day for a football game. I don't know if you have to bring your suntan lotion, but bring your sunglasses, and that's a good thing.
We'll do it. And I want to give a shout out to video analyst James McCrae for providing these clips for us this week, as he did last week. We appreciate the help and the insight.
Start calling him Coach McCrae.
Coach McCrae.
Giving us all the insights. All right, folks, thanks for joining us here today. We will see you at the stadium tomorrow. Virginia, Indiana. See you at Scott Stadium.